Hi, my name is Jen Denzel, and for my triangulated analysis, I analyzed Houghton Mifflin's reading program. Specifically, I looked at theme 3, the story The Stranger. My area of focus was vocabulary, and this is 4th grade curriculum. So first I looked at the dominant theoretical perspectives behind the curriculum. And I found that Houghton Mifflin's reading program is primarily based on a blend of constructivist and behaviorist theories. I found equal evidence of each of these theories in a number of activities and procedures in the curriculum. So first, there is evidence of constructivist theories in action. Specifically, I found several examples of schema building and metacognitive theory. One example of schema building in action is how, at the beginning of each unit, pre-reading activities are introduced to build students' background with a story, theme, and vocabulary. For example, in one activity, students were asked to aid in the creation of a concept map, identifying everything they know about autumn. By creating a map, the students were being asked to activate their schema about the season of autumn, and by doing this, students are better prepared to look for ways in which the events of the story are in harmony or disharmony with their existing schema, which is important because in the story, the seasons don't change as they should. And activating prior knowledge is a way of translating schema theory into practice as students make associations between what they know and the events in the story. Additionally, throughout the curriculum, I found plenty of evidence of behaviorist theory. For example, in each unit of study, vocabulary, phonics skills, grammar, and comprehension skills are taught through direct instruction. So it's pretty common in this program for each subskill to be introduced by the teacher, practiced as a class, and assessed for mastery at the end of the unit. So this idea that students must be taught directly, taught these reading skills, and that through repeated practice, mastery is achieved is an example of behaviorism in practice. Next, I looked for examples of best practices within the program, and I found 3 dominant best practices. One is that they definitely show the gradual release of responsibility model. Vocabulary, for example, is initially introduced by the teacher, and then the class as a whole participates in identifying words using context clues, so they're getting support from their buddies, learning buddies. And then finally, students are asked to demonstrate knowledge of the words in an individual practice book page. So there you have your gradual release of responsibility for learning to the student. The program also provides students with multiple opportunities to experience the new vocabulary words in various contexts. So, for example, word identification strategies are taught explicitly and regularly in the program. For example, using context clues or using root words to identify words or base words and endings. And so they offer students with several examples of teacher modeling of this, group practice, and independent practice. And finally, graphic organizers are used regularly throughout the program. For example, I gave an example already about how they took the idea of autumn and made a concept map about everything students know about autumn. This is also used very, very much in the program with comprehension skills. They use graphic organizers a lot. Finally, I looked at how is this curriculum aligned to the new Common Core standards. And what I found was that one way that the Common Core standards are met pretty well in the program is with Common Core Standard 1.4, which is to determine or clarify the meaning of unknown and multiple meaning words and phrases based on grade 4 reading and context, choosing flexibly from a range of strategies. So specifically part B of this standard, which is to use common grade appropriate Greek and Latin affixes and roots as clues to the meanings of a word, that is covered explicitly in the curriculum. For example, on a page in my teacher's edition, just in the unit that I focused on, they called the teacher to explicitly teach the meanings of the root words tele, rupt, sign, and spect, And then there was lots of practice for the students with those words as well. Well, actually, I shouldn't say lots. There was some practice with those as well. The program also meets Part C of Common Core State Standard 5, which is to demonstrate understanding of words by relating them to their antonyms and their synonyms. The program directly teaches students how to extend their vocabulary with synonyms. For example, in the teacher's edition for the story that I looked at, students were called to match words with their synonyms and rewrite sentences using synonyms. So they're clearly using the idea of synonyms to build upon their vocabulary knowledge. One primary area of misalignment, specifically, it's really a reading strategy, but it falls under sort of the vocabulary area for the Common Core State Standards, which is to identify the meaning of similes and metaphors when they're in context. And what I know from my experience with the program is that even under the old California state standards, which only ask students to identify similes and metaphors and not to identify their meanings, the program did a very poor job, only mentioning them once and with no practice activities. So teachers using this program should be aware that they will have to create supplementary materials on similes and metaphors to address this concept, perhaps seeking out the best story in the anthology series or using a piece of literature outside of this curriculum to adequately cover this skill. So after analyzing the program, I've come up with a couple main areas for improvement or supplementation. One is for students to have more ownership or direction over the vocabulary words that they study. The program creates a word learning environment that is completely dictated and controlled by the curriculum or the teacher. To improve the word learning experience for students, they could be provided with opportunities to control their own vocabulary enrichment by selecting the words that are new to them that they would like to study. Studies have shown that when students choose words that they need to learn, they learn the word meanings more successfully and retain the meanings longer than when a teacher chooses the words. So this would be a great area for improvement of the program. Additionally, the program can be enhanced by facilitating ways for students to engage with the words and understand them in context. And though the program does initially introduce the words in context and offer a couple practice activities in context, we definitely know that a hallmark of good instruction is having learners actively construct their own meaning, and in order to do that, students will need more experiences asking questions with the words, answering questions about the words, relating the words to their own experiences. And so one way that the teacher can supplement the reading is by bringing in realia related to the vocabulary, pictures that support the vocabulary terms, or planning activities for students to really engage with sort of the larger context of the words, and then planning activities that invite students to ask and answer questions using the words. They can really connect them to their prior knowledge. So that is my triangulated analysis of Houghton Mifflin's 4th grade reading program, specifically how they address vocabulary.